After the events that had taken place in that gym that day, police sirens could be heard in the distance as police flooded the school. News stations from all over covered the events that had taken place. Zoe and Arata stood in the crowd, watching a large jumbotron display with the footage of the incident. They couldn't believe what had happened and couldn't help but to think to themselves about the repercussions that would follow. Sometime later, a news station's broadcast would be transmitted through all jumbotrons, televisions, and stations around the world. Sora and Shiro sat in the apartment, watching with a rapt attention, as did Arata and Zoe. They would watch with bated breath as the screen read, "Special guest, Sans." The camera would then focus on Sans, who sat on a couch in the studio, his expression serious. He began to speak. "Hello world, I'm here today to share the truth about what happened at the Advanced Nursing High School." Sans went on to recount the events that led up to the destruction of the school, explaining how he devised a plan to bring justice to his brother and himself. He revealed the corruption within the school and how it had been covering up the abuse and mistreatment of certain students, including Papyrus and himself. As Sans spoke, images and videos of the events were shown on the screen, shocking the world with the brutality and injustice that had taken place. People everywhere were outraged, and protests erupted in front of schools and government buildings all over the world. Sans would say, "We will not stand for this kind of mistreatment anymore. We will fight until every student is treated with respect and dignity. And we will ensure that schools like Advanced Nursing High School are never allowed to operate again." The world had been awakening to the truth, and change was on the horizon. The newscaster asked Sans, "How did you manage to get all this evidence with perfect HD quality and even your brother's point of view?" Sans nodded and explained. "I had two fellow students, Sora and Shiro. I contacted them with a plan to get Class 1C expelled, but it was just a theoretical plan. I met with a teacher and asked to combine all four of our points secretly, creating a joint account for Papyrus, Shiro, Sora, and myself. This allowed us to use each other's points and gather the evidence we needed." The newscaster then asked, "So your brother was in on the plan?" Sans replied, "No, I didn't want to involve him. I only asked to manage his points, and he had no idea about the plan beyond that." The newscaster said, "I see." She looked over as the newscaster then said, "What then?" Sans explained that with the combined points, they had accumulated a significant amount. He then recounted his conversation with Sora and Shiro, asking why they never used their points. Shiro confirmed that they ate outside of campus but never used their points for food. Sora explained that they went to the food drives and shelters, as there were free resources available. Sans questioned if their actions were immoral, but Sora argued that the class points were not money, and they were poor in theory. Shiro clarified that they created a schedule to rarely leave campus. Sans accepted their explanation, but remained unsure about how he felt regarding the situation. Newscaster asked, "So, with all those points, what did you buy?" Sans replied, "I managed to get cameras installed into the gym equipment, and I also had the staff watching the events that were happening in the teacher's lounge." The newscaster was taken aback by Sans' response. Newscaster inquired, "What about the POVs?" Sans replied, "That's in special context made for me and Papyrus. I told him it was a warrior thing to do to convince him to wear them. These contacts are designed to record video, but they're fragile. To avoid any potential harm, I made sure to close my eyes while wearing them. Luckily, Papyrus did the same." "Well, we thank you, Sans, for joining us today. Before we let you go, can you share any details about your future plans, any projects or goals that you're working towards?" "Well, as a matter of fact, I do have some unfinished business to take care of. I can't divulge too much information, but I've been working on a personal project that I plan to finish soon. It's something that's very important to me. and I've been putting a lot of time and effort into it. I hope to be able to share more about it with the world soon. As the screen fades black, as the camera zoomed out, it revealed a man sitting on a plane, watching the end of the broadcast with a cold and calculating expression. It was Hyotaka Ayonokaji, a highly intelligent and sadistic student known for his ability to manipulate and control others to achieve his goals. He watched the screen intently as the broadcast ended, then turned his attention to the window as he realized they were approaching America. Hyotaka muttered to himself, weak pawns are the first to die after all. He knew that in this new environment, he would need to be even more ruthless and sadistic to succeed. As the plane landed, and he stepped out onto the American soil, he felt a sense of excitement and anticipation. He was ready to take on whatever challenges lay ahead, and to use his intelligence and cunning to come out on the top. Several weeks later, Kiyotaka Yanokoji found himself in a class trip to a museum. He managed to transfer to a new school system, and now he and the other students wore the Harvard University patch on their uniform. Kiyotaka stood in the midst of the bustling museum crowd, his face calm and emotionless as he observed his surroundings. 10 weeks later, and I managed to blend in, he thought to himself. Same uniform color as well. It seems things just turned out well for me. Despite his successful integration into the new school system, Kiyotaka remained focused on his goals. He had unfinished business to attend to, and he was determined to see it through to the end. As he continued to survey the exhibits, his mind was ready at work, plotting and planning his next moves. Kiyotaka Yonokoji was on a class trip to a museum with his new classmates from Harvard University. The teacher instructed them to complete a worksheet based on the exhibits. They were given pamphlets with designated areas to explore. Kiyotaka's focus was on the library and statue sections of the museum, so he began making his way to the first location. As he walked through the museum, Kiyotaka observed his surroundings with a keen eye, taking note of the layout and the placement of the exhibits. He felt confident in his ability to complete the task assigned to him, as he had honed his observation skills during his time at Advanced Nursing High School. Despite the new environment and new schoolmates, Kiyotaka felt at ease as he walked through the museum, blending in with the other students, as if he had always been a part of the group. He was determined to make the most of his time at Harvard University and continue to develop his skills, all while keeping his past at Advanced Nursing High School a secret.